This week, you are going to be taking those database designs that you created last week, and you are going to be creating an actual database and your tables. And so in order to do that, you do need to go through Chapter 11 and Chapter 12. So Chapter 11 covers how to create the tables using SQL. So obviously this is going to be the most flexible way to do it because no matter what interface you're using, whether it's SSMS or MySQL or anything else, these commands are going to work. Okay, and so we're getting into the DDL commands, and you'll notice that we've got create, and that is how you create your database, and drop, that's how you delete the database, and create table or drop table. If you need to make a change, it's alter table. Okay, and then in addition to the tables, you can also create some indexing. So you're going to actually read through this. Anytime you see a link to an interactive exercise, please do it because it will help you understand this process better. And once you get done with the lecture demo, you're going to go through the textbook assignment, which is going to give you basically practice creating a database and creating tables. So you're going to practice what you have read, and you'll get practice creating them and deleting them. And by the time you get done with this, hopefully you're feeling comfortable with all of these SQL commands. Then you're going to be uploading that code to the Dropbox and moving on to Chapter 12, which it basically covers the same thing as 11, but it shows you how to use the interface, how to use the software rather than the commands. And so I recommend learning the commands because those are transferable skills. You can use those commands in any SQL application. But if you have trouble getting the commands to work, or if there's some other issue, you can use the interface. What I've used the interface for is deleting. If I have to delete tables or if I have to delete the database, I have found that it sometimes works better to use the interface. But this basically goes through and shows you how to use the interface to create the database, create the tables, create your keys, create constraints, all that kind of stuff. And then there is a little textbook assignment where you are going to be using the interface to create a database and create tables. You're actually going to do a little relationship between the tables. And so that's what this assignment does. It just gets you familiar with that interface. And then you will upload the assignment to the Dropbox. And at this point, you're going to be ready to work on milestone 2 of your term project. And this milestone has 2 parts. We're going to be doing part 1 this week and part 2 next week. So part 1 is creating the database, creating the tables, and doing those foreign keys. Also, part 1, you are going to be creating some indices. So the requirements for this are listed. And you'll notice that I do have videos that kind of walk you through this. So you're going to have to do database and tables. You're going to have to do foreign key constraints. You're going to have to do indices. Okay, and so I've got some videos kind of showing you the process, but you are going to be doing this to create your own term project database. So I've got videos that you can watch, and I also have examples. So here's the script I used to create the database, and one to create foreign keys and one to do indices. And then I've actually got another one to show you. So I've got 2 different ones. I've got one for my fictional business. And then I've got another one for a fictional bakery. But just so you can kind of see, a couple different ways to do it. So plenty of examples for you guys to look at, but you do need to get those created. You should then generate a database diagram using SSMS. And this is going to be a nice double check for you to make sure that you've got all of your primary and foreign keys set up correctly. Okay, so you want to be able to share data amongst your tables, and so they should be connected. Then you're going to back up the database. Okay, and you will be submitting your backup. You will be also submitting code for your database creation, because what I do is I recreate your database on my system. So I usually try to restore it from the backup first, but sometimes that does not work. And so in addition to the backup, you do need to submit the database and table creation code. So if you saved the code that you used when you created the database and tables and the foreign keys, like I did, so you have these little scripts, you can submit those. Okay, because I can use those to generate your tables. If you didn't save that, then you can actually export that. And so when you export it, it does look a little different than it does if you just save it. So you can see the exported code looks quite a bit different than the code that you use to generate, but both will work to actually create, the database and the tables. Okay, so what do you need to turn in? I have to be able to see your database. So I need a backup of the entire database, and I need a script of the database and its tables. Okay, the scripts should include your constraints, which are your keys, primary and foreign keys, and the indices. So you can either submit the individual scripts if you save them, and they would look like these examples, or you can follow this process to export the entire database and submit that script. Okay. Then you should also submit your database diagram, which is either a screenshot from your SSMS, or you could actually kind of copy and paste it into Word. It doesn't matter to me, how you submit that, as long as I can see it. Okay, so the backup of the database, the script, and the database diagram. That is what you need to turn in. I will have to restore your database, and then I will be checking for the tables and the primary key and all of that. You do not need to put data into those tables yet. Okay, at this point, we're just setting up the database and setting up the tables. This is typically where we find problems. So if foreign keys aren't working, if you have any kind of issues at all, reach out, because we need to fix them before you try to enter your data. So once we get through this part of the milestone, your database should be pretty good shape. The unit test is covering chapters 8, 10, 11, and 12. So what we've been doing the last couple of weeks. You can take it up to 3 times, and it is open book, open note. Moodle will store your highest score. And you'll notice that I've given you some wiggle room because you get a little extra week to work on this. If you need more information on constraints or table design, or anything else, I have resources in here for you. Plus, if you are confused about anything, please reach out because I am happy to meet with you and help.